Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how I made this inset circular geometric buttercream marbled cake. That's a mouthful. I'm also going to show you how to make those really cool chocolate decorations. I'm not sure what to call them. They kind of have peaks in them. So I'm going to show you how to do it all. So let's get started. This is my color palette, is my inspiration. I wanted to do kind of Christmas colors, but I wanted it to be modern. So that's why we're sticking with the gold, the burgundy, and the pink. And in some of the decorations, I add some of the more kind of more of a Christmas tree ornament kind of vibe. But first we got to get that buttercream, that deep dark burgundy color. So I'm just using burgundy food color, they're gel colors. And this is how I get my deep color. I add some of the food coloring, probably about 2 tablespoons, and then mix it into my buttercream, and I actually pop it in the refrigerator or the microwave until it is melted. Maybe 45 seconds to a minute. Then I just cover it with some saran wrap so it's touching the surface and put it in the refrigerator to firm up for a little while. And I'm going to color my chocolate candy melts. And I'm just using blush. I think that's a taupe color, and some more burgundy are the colors that we're going with here. And this is just a foam core board that I have covered in, it's basically shelf liner, the clear shelf liner that just sticks to it. So that's how I make that food safe. I've used those boards for a lot of things. So I melt my chocolates in 30-second increments in the microwave until almost all of the lumps are gone. Then you mix those lumps in with the residual heat that's in your chocolate already. And then for the burgundy, I was really digging into this bottle to get as deep of a burgundy as I could. And I did end up adding a little bit of black to it to deepen it up even more. Then I made some of the taupe and some of the blush pink. The blush pink and the taupe are Color Mill oiled food colorings, actually. All of the coloring that I use for the chocolate is oil. And this is basically all I did. I just used a measuring cup. I dab it in the melted chocolate and then just touch it to the surface and pull away. And you'll get this really cool kind of peak, really textured decoration. I did this with all of my colors. The burgundy ones didn't work as well because honestly, as I'm saying this, I'm remembering I did use the gel food coloring, which made it kind of clump up a little bit, seize a little bit, and then I added some oil to it to thin it down. But what that did was it made it so I could not get these off. I was disappointed, but I made it work. But I could not get these off of the board. It was too thin down. The consistency had changed too much for me to be able to remove them from the boards, which is disappointing, but you know, it is what it is. We have enough of the burgundy with the buttercream and some of the decorations, I feel. So we're just going to zip right through the decorating of the cake. The cake was already, or frosting the cake, it was already chilled, filled, crumb-coated, and chilled. This is one of my cakes that I have used many, many times over. There is cake in there, I promise. It's just, you wouldn't want to eat it now because it's pretty old. So I put it in the freezer to firm up for probably about 10 minutes. Now, if you do this technique yourself, use some heat resistant gloves. I don't do it, and I know I should, but please, for my sanity, go ahead and use heat resistant gloves. Or dip your cutters into hot water. That would work too. And I'm just pressing them into the firmed up buttercream. This first one did kind of fight me. I don't know if what happened was that the buttercream as I was going was softening up just enough so that it actually worked better as we progress here. But you could, I should have sped that up. But you can see I got the mark in there, but I couldn't get the buttercream to come out. But they will start coming out. Just kind of the whole piece of the burgundy part comes out. That's the goal, is to be able to remove these circular sections. And I did these in an irregular pattern. I didn't want it to be too matchy-matchy or too flowy. So I just kind of varied the sizes of the cutters. See that one? Finally, they're starting to come out as I'm pulling them out. So that's exactly what I wanted to have happen from the beginning, but it did not. That's okay. So I'm kind of going for a diagonal look, but irregular with the pattern within. And make sure that your base coat of buttercream is really firmly set up before you do your final layer. That's another way to make sure that you don't remove all that buttercream, which it really wouldn't matter in the long term because you're going to fill it back in anyways. And now these are firmed up and set up, and I just used a thin palette knife to remove them from the board. Now we're going to go ahead and fill in those circular patterns with our marbled buttercream. So I just am doing the marbling technique where you take a little bit of each color, do more of your paler background color, less of the deeper colors. Just kind of marble it up together a little bit with your palette knife, and then just scoop up sections and place it into the circle patterns or whatever. You could use whatever, you could do whatever geometric shape you want, really, honestly. And then just kind of fill in those holes and pop it in the freezer to firm up. In the meantime, I'm airbrushing some of the geometric toppers. Sorry, most of that was out of frame. I don't know why I didn't notice that. I just set those to the side to dry. And then I go back. There's a lot of back and forth with these kind of designs. Well, most designs. But now that this is firmed up, I put it in the freezer for about 15 minutes. And then I'm going back in with a metal scraper and I'm scraping off the excess. You can tell that I had kind of smoothed down the buttercream before I placed it into the freezer because it looks pretty messy and scary to begin with. But that's okay because you're going to remove that outside layer. And you can heat up your metal scraper with some hot water or get your creme brulee torch on it for a second and heat it up. Might help you remove that excess. Now this took a little while, a little time to be very detailed about it. And if you are noticing that your buttercream is softening too much as you're working with it, just put it back into the freezer for another 10 minutes to firm back up again, bring it out and go back at it. Now I removed the bulk of the excess and then I kind of went back with a smaller scraper and kind of cleaned up around right here, around the outside edges of the circles, kind of get them more crisp and sharp as much as possible. Now I know there's room for error in here because we are dealing with buttercream. You might have some pieces that did not come out real smooth with your cookie cutter, but that's okay because I do go back in and I use some edible gold paint and I kind of paint around the outside edges of these circles. So don't worry about it too much if you don't have a really sharp line around the circles. And also, even if you aren't going to do some kind of a metallic around the outside edge, nobody's looking that close. It's really going to be okay. And then I just remove that excess off of the top that was caused by me scraping at it on the side there. Well, I'm really taking some time on this, aren't I? And then I just clean up my board and I think I popped it into the refrigerator to firm up a little bit. I'm sorry, the freezer to firm up a little bit. And then brought it back out. And this is where I'm using just a fine pointed paintbrush that has only ever been used on my cakes. I've never used it on anything else. So I'm going back in and just kind of, you can't even really tell very much, but I kind of went back in and redefined some lines, some veining with that gold. I wanted it to kind of be throughout, and it's a good way if you have a piece that does not have much veining and you want to add more veining to it, you can kind of give it the faux veined look by using the gold. I'm not sure if I did it on this one. Yeah, see, I did a line right through that bigger one just to kind of make it seem like there was a little bit more marbling in there. And you don't have to paint all the way around the circle. You can just do partial. I don't think I did all the way around all of them because I really don't have that steady of a hand. So I'll put it back in the refrigerator to firm up again. And these are the decorations. See those kind of the Christmas tree ornament looking ones that they look like disco balls. They came in a bunch at Michael's with the Christmas decorating floral section. You can use a lot of those things in cake decorating actually. And if this was for an order, I would wrap the stems in floral tape. Then I'm just attaching our chocolate decorations with a little bit of buttercream. Some of them I cut in half so that you don't have a complete circle all the way. And then just plugged in our decorations to fill in any gaps. So here's our final product. I hope you liked it. I hope it's a little bit Christmassy for you since I'm not there to film this month. I did this as my last decorating tutorial that I filmed before I had to take my break. So I wanted to do it a little bit of Christmassy. So I hope you got some inspiration, and we'll catch you on the next one.